Darren, let's look at a couple of objections that have been made to this article and to your theory. I'm actually looking at an article in the Bulwark, which is a sort of never Trump publication. And they make the point, which I think in a way Twitter does also, where they say federal law doesn't permit cooperating witnesses or informants to be charged with conspiracy, despite a baseless suggestion by Tucker Carlson that some of the co-conspirators were not charged because they were undercover FBI agents. So I guess what they're saying here is that they can't charge them if they were, that no cooperating witnesses or informants can be charged. What's your response?
Well, that is false along a number of dimensions. I'll take the first dimension, which is simply it's a matter of basic logic. No, and it's actually amazing to me. I consider it an insult to have opposition that is this mediocre and low class and low status. I want an opposition that's at least close to my level intellectually, and I'm not getting that. And quite frankly, that's frustrating because in this case, their argument is, what would these people get on the LSAT and the logic games? This is a basic logic game. I'm saying it's highly suspicious that all of these people listed in the charging documents who seem to be more egregious and more culpable than those charged, it's weird that they're not charged. And one possible, even likely explanation is some of those people are undercover federal operatives. And they're coming back and saying, well, the government doesn't charge its own informants. Well, that's precisely what I'm pointing out to. That's precisely why it's suspicious. That's precisely why I'm saying the fact that these people aren't charged is suspicious and may suggest they're actually agents. But there's a sense in which they're not only wrong as a kind of logical matter, they're wrong as an empirical and practical matter. Government actually does charge its own agents. In fact, again, we can go back to the Michigan plot where I mentioned the fifth government agent and informant. Again, we can get into technical distinction about agent and informant. I'm using those in the kind of colloquial, non-technical sense. The fifth agent or informant, he's really an informant in the Michigan plot, this guy, Steve Robeson, he kept his cover for a long time. He was working with the government for a long time. All of the Michigan plotters got together and say, we have a rat in our ranks. This is disturbing. They went on this live stream to sort of adjudicate the question and to kind of interrogate him. And it basically broke down an interrogation and said, yes, in the charging documents, I am the individual from Wisconsin, basically giving it up. And by the way, the government went to great lengths to conceal his identity and confuse things in the charging documents, referring to him as an individual from Wisconsin, individual here and there. And we also know parallels in that kind of language in the charging documents related to 1-6. But after he revealed himself, that created problems for the government, and they presumably got pissed off that, our guy outed himself and this compromises our investigation because now people understand to the degree to which it's a big scam, a big infiltration scam. So after he outed himself, they go along to charge him. Not for this specific case, but they find an excuse to charge him on a gun charge. If I recall correctly, he was convicted of some kind of sex crime and not allowed to have guns, and they gave him a gun charge right after. So they do actually go after their own informants when they step out of line. And it's very possible. People need to understand this isn't a static situation. This is a chess game. This Revolver.news piece laid it out on the table, and now there's going to be a lot of conversations within the Bureau, within saying, what do we got to do? There might be some of these people we need to charge now that people are talking about it. And so they need to negotiate with the people in charge saying, look, we got to charge you with something, otherwise it looks bad. And they have to make sure that they can convince these informants to say, we're going to charge you, but don't worry about it. It's not going to be that bad, because the last thing they want is for the person to squeal and say, hey, you guys are charging me. I was working for you, which is something that's happened as well. So this is a very interesting chess game that's been set into motion now. That's an iterative process. It's a dynamic process.
Here's, to me, what was perhaps the most telling line in this Bulwark article is after laying out these objections, it's almost as the writer realizes how weak they are, because essentially what is said at the end is this: even if it were true, it's not exculpatory. So what she's basically saying is, okay, listen, this could have been a setup. Yeah, maybe the feds did it. But after all, the other guys obviously went along. They participated. They worked hand in hand with these guys. So even if this was an engineered operation by the feds, nevertheless, the full blame falls on the Trumpsters. It doesn't fall on the feds because the feds obviously didn't intend to break the law. They were merely setting these people up to bring out the lawless tendencies presumably in them. What do you make of this kind of, what does it mean for a free society where we essentially authorize the federal government to unleash these kinds of fake operatives to engineer operations and then go, aha, we gotcha, you participated in the bank robbery that we ourselves orchestrated and helped you set up?
Excellent point, Dinesh. And I'm willing to predict right here the narrative development that will ensue as a result of this bombshell Revolver.news piece. We're at step one, which is the feds didn't infiltrate the very MAGA militia groups they blamed for 1/6. Step two, yeah, maybe there was some infiltration, but that's not such a big deal. Step three, there was infiltration, and that's a good thing, actually. Step four, the people freaking out about the infiltration are the real problem. And so we're at step one. Maybe Bulwark is kind of
moving into 2 and 3,
hedging their bets here. But look, this is why this is so important. And I think, I basically think this. Our politics in this country are going to be fake and performative until we bring the intelligence national security apparatus to heel. We are not going to have a real country, a free country, until that problem is solved in some fashion. And any conversation politically that is not about how do we get our national security apparatus back in line is fake and performative. What we really need is a church committee 2.0. We need a church committee 2.0, and we need people both from the left and the right to get on board with this, because they pull these same tricks on the left. In fact, there's an article in a left-wing, even communist, I think, magazine called Jacobin, and they were the only ones to really call suspicion on the Whitmer plot. They didn't connect it to 1/6, but they called suspicion on Whitmer and said, what they're doing to this so-called mastermind of the Whitmer plot, who's this homeless guy living in a basement, is very similar to what they were doing to a lot of Muslims in the wake of 9/11. And so we need to get serious principled people on the left, serious principled people on the right to understand we do not have a free country in America until the intelligence apparatus, including the FBI, is put in its proper place.
Couldn't agree more. And Darren, you're to be congratulated. We need a lot more of this kind of investigative reporting, because at the end of the day, what gets people to take notice isn't just punditry, isn't just interpretation. It's the new revelation of facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.